African brothers and sisters that's on a journey to regain their true history and their true origins. This is going to be a very powerful video for everyone under the sound of my voice. Now, what you're looking at is the ancient Kemetic cosmos. What you're looking at is the sky goddess Nut and the earth god Geb below laid out, representing the earth plane. And the sky god is Nut you see above him in his arch position. Before we get deep into this, one thing we have to keep in mind is that when we talk about gods and goddesses, we're always talking about cosmology. It's impossible to talk God and goddess without talking cosmology. And when we say cosmology, we're talking cosmos with the word ology. And in a nutshell, simply means one view or depiction of the cosmos. There are many views and many cosmologies, but right now we're going to focus on this particular cosmology with the sky goddess Nut and the earth god Geb. Again, before we get deep into it, some basic things we want to point out about it is right off the back, my brothers and sisters. One thing we got to grasp about this cosmology is that it's not a globe, and anyone that's going to deny that right now is really going to look foolish. This is not a globe that we are looking at, okay? The earth god Geb is represented, laid out as a flat plane, and we can see that the sky is arched for a reason. Our ancestors made the sky goddess Nut in the shape of this arch all over the place, and they did it specifically for a reason. And as we get deep into this, you're going to see what that reason is. The basic reason for that was the fact that our ancestors understood that they were enclosed inside of a dome. And if you look at this cosmology in front of you, my brothers and sisters, and get rid of your ego and have an open mind and just think with me, okay? Where is all the life in this cosmology? It's on the inside, okay? The sky goddess Nut is protecting the life that's on the inside of this whole cosmos, and Geb is representative of all that life that is on the earth plane. Now, what you must keep in mind is that this is not the oldest cosmology. And when we talk about ancient Kemet, we're not talking about the oldest. We have to go so many more years back beyond Kemet before we can say the word old or ancient, brothers and sisters. We say the word a lot, but trust me, this cosmology can go back farther than most of you think. With that being said, what you're looking at now is not the oldest cosmology. Towards the end, we're going to get a little bit into Kushite cosmology, because everything in Egypt, or what we call ancient Kemet, descended from Ethiopia or Kush. Okay, so you have the Kemite Empire, you have the Kushite Empire, which predates Kemet. There would not be a Kemet if there wasn't for a Kush. So Kush is the beginning of what we call Egyptian culture or Kemetic culture. So to understand the true cosmology, we got to go all the way back to the source. But what we're looking at today is so important because it actually marks the beginning of this type cosmology that you see in front of you. Now, this type cosmology that you see in front of you is flat earth cosmology. It was not only the cosmology of our ancient Kemetic ancestors, but it was also the cosmology of many cultures. And the significance about this cosmology, and why I'm taking the time to do the video on it, is because this is the most recent and consistent cosmology that we find among all of the ancient cultures across the world, and it's very consistent, this design. So like I said, our ancestors made the sky goddess Nut bent in this position for a reason, and Geb is laid out that way for a reason, okay? Our ancestors did not believe in a spherical globe. The globe was given to our ancient Kemetic ancestors during the same time that the Bible and the early Christians and European invaders settled on the land. Understand that the globe was never an African concept, and you cannot find any indigenous culture or any African art that will depict you a heliocentric solar system. Also, no one in the black conscious community can produce for brother Sanchez any hieroglyphics that came from Kush or Kemet of a solar system or Earth as a globe. You cannot find it, ladies and gentlemen. So why don't we admit that our ancestors were flat earthers and that our ancestors did not believe in a globe? The globe came to our people from the invaders, and the globe goes hand in hand with the Bible, people. You must understand that even the first Christians didn't have a globe. When we talk Ptolemy, which was some of the first invaders on our ancestors' land, they didn't even have the globe yet. Those Most first Greeks even had flat earth cosmology that they learned from our ancestors. It didn't turn into the globe until later, until they found out how to make a good slave. So understanding the cosmology gets real deep when it comes to knowing thyself and understanding our true history. Because part of what made us the slaves we are today was when the invaders gave us the globe. The first solar system was made in the image of the hypnotization spiral, and it was made to take away our true cosmology. Why was there an importance to take away our true cosmology, African people? Because like I said, our gods and goddesses is linked to the cosmology. Our spirituality is tied and woven into the cosmology. Our ancient ancestors did not separate spirituality from cosmology. So you cannot understand the spirituality until you understand the cosmology. So with that being said, let's get into this ancient Kemetic cosmology. And again, remember, this is not the oldest cosmology. First thing we want to realize about ancient cosmology is that all ancient cosmology is centered around the cosmic mother. And the reason this is important is because all ancient cosmos stories are centered around the birth of a cosmic egg. And this cosmic egg is always birthed from the womb, or what's called the cosmic womb, that belonged to the cosmic mother. This later became the Milky Way galaxy and everything that they give us today. So people, we got to understand that our history has been hidden behind the cosmology. The history you have about you getting out of a slave ship, and the history we have about all of the pharaohs and Thutmoses and all of these dynasties in Kemet is nothing, people. You want to get deep into your history, African people, you got to go to the cosmology, because the true origins of the human being lies in the cosmology. So when we talk about the goddess Nut, the first thing we want to keep in mind is that she is one of the first mother goddesses. When we talk about the earth god Gaeb, we're talking about this whole cosmos that we see with Nut and Gaeb was made during a time where there was a blending of the patriarch and matriarch. When we say matriarch, we're talking about a cosmology that's centered strictly around female energy only, all right? And that female energy gives birth to everything that's male, just like we see in our real reality. That's why this is the earliest cosmology that you will find anywhere on our beautiful flat earth, because the ancestors looked at reality as above, so below. We ignore reality today and we accept theories. All around the world, ever since we was born, the only thing we can prove with our own two eyes is that every human being come from a mother. And we throw around this term as above, so below so much. And if we say every human being come from a mother, then everything in existence come from a mother. And this is the simple truth that our ancestors knew. So when you see the sky goddess Nut, it's very important, because this isn't the earliest cosmos. This was during the time where they blended the goddess with the god to give you the cosmology. Everything prior to this blending period was simply the goddesses creating the cosmology. Later on, after the blending of the patriarch and the matriarch, you can see where eventually the woman was completely deleted. And today we strictly have males dominating the cosmology and responsible for the creation of the cosmology, and they have completely deleted the woman from the cosmology. When we go into this cosmology of Nut and Gaeb, keep in mind we're in the intermediate period. This is still during the dynastic era, and this is during the time where invasions had already taken place. There were many gender wars. The ego was rising very strong amongst the males, and the male energy was getting very rebellious in the matriarch system. So what happened during this intermediate period, there was a sharing of the gods and the goddesses. Later on, like I said, you see where Ra and all of the male deities like Anubis and Set and all of these deities, they begin to dominate the cosmology in Kemetic history, and you see less and less of the ancient goddesses that predated all of the male deities, okay? Because the first deities who wore the solar disk were the goddesses, not Ra, but Sekhmet. And Sekhmet was the goddess of life and death, and she wore the solar disk, not the sun spear. So our cosmology was changed.